Life as a stray dog is the only reality in this broken world where the weak lose every single thing they own. Desperation takes over as he claws through the dirt trying to survive another day against the crushing weight of fate. Enormous monsters emerge from the sand to consume everything because being weak is a death sentence in this wasteland. Everything changed 1 century ago when a mysterious and blinding beam of light descended from the stars to strike Earth. Absolute chaos erupted as that strange energy began swallowing every single living soul across the entire globe. This beautiful blue planet vanished under the white glare until nothing remained of the world they once called home. Now the Earth is nothing but a silent desert grave where the sun burns the remnants of a forgotten civilization. Survivors huddled together inside massive fortresses to escape the heat and the horrors waiting in the endless dust. Anger boils inside his chest as the young man wonders why the heavens left only the worst people alive today. Suddenly a heavy fist smashes into the seat right behind his head to interrupt his dark and quiet thoughts. That massive bully claims his hand just slipped, but his wicked expression tells a much darker story to everyone. Muscular and tattooed, this thug towers over the boy and asks for a name just so he can offer a fake apology. Zeon glares upward with eyes that burn like fire as he calmly speaks his name to the monster standing in his way. Laughter erupts through the bus after the bully makes a disgusting joke about the boy having multiple fathers. Dark energy simmers beneath his skin as the protagonist prepares to snap against these arrogant fools. Everyone riding this bus to the mines shares a dark secret because none of them are actually workers. This annoying thug thinks he can act friendly by guessing what kind of petty crime landed the kid here. Sudden violence erupts as a heavy fist connects with the big guy before he can even finish his sentence. Impact sends the massive bully crashing into the floor of the vehicle as everyone watches in pure shock. Our hero stands over the fallen man to reject those weak guesses with a cold stare of death. Dark energy swirls in his eyes as he reveals the truth that his only real sin was murder. Neo Soul is a brutal place where only those with absolute power deserve to be treated like humans. One random thief was supposed to die easily since another piece of trash in the dump means nothing. That dying rat mentioned a name that changed everything because his brother is a legendary figure. Terror strikes deep into his heart once he realizes the magnitude of the mistake he just made today. Awakeners rule as living gods who can crush anyone with a single thought or a bolt of lightning. Rumors spread fast, so he crawled onto this bus to escape the wrath of a monster seeking revenge. Something feels wrong back in reality when blood suddenly splatters against his surprised face. The giant thug just laughs as he takes the hit like it was nothing more than a soft breeze. Confusion fills his mind as he sees his own hand shattered instead of the face he just attacked. Chaos erupts inside the vehicle as bodies fly through the air like ragdolls. This poor guy lets out a desperate scream as his body hits the floor hard. A massive bully cracks his knuckles and tells the kid he should have listened to his big brother. Panic fills his eyes since he tried so hard to avoid meeting a monster of this level. Flames of energy erupt from his body as he prepares to show who is the real boss. People get tossed aside by the sheer pressure of this superhuman monster. Outside, the bus drifts across the desert sand and the engine roars in a desperate struggle. Blood drips down his forehead and he screams at the driver to keep the vehicle steady. The driver ignores the shouting and simply stares ahead into the vast desert. Sudden silence fills the air as the angry man notices something terrifying through the window. A weak voice from the floor reveals that they were never heading to the mines. His bloodshot eye trembles as the true horror of their situation finally sinks into his mind. Tears stream down his face since he knows there is no way to survive this nightmare. A colossal sand monster opens its jagged mouth to swallow the entire bus in one single bite. Everyone screams in terror as they fall into the darkness of the hungry creature below. He reflects on his miserable life as the ground literally swallows his body whole once again. Life in the ruins of Neo Soul meant that even a lowly sandworm could end his pathetic existence. The strong always take everything from the weak, and he screams in agony as the earth claims him. Tears fall from his eyes since he knows this is the end of his long string of failures. His hand reaches for a light that is not there because he blames his own lack of power. Deep inside the darkness, he imagines a reality where he had enough strength to actually survive this day. Everything goes silent as only a single limb remains visible above the vast and empty desert sands. Death seems certain until the dusty hand suddenly twitches with a spark of renewed life. Fingers claw at the dry ground as the protagonist refuses to let the abyss take him just yet. A massive vortex of sand begins to swirl around his arm like some kind of ancient and powerful magic. His eyes snap open with a golden glow that pierces through the shadows of his certain doom. He erupts from the earth with a violent surge of energy that scatters the sand in every direction. Air fills his lungs as the young man clutches his chest, but his heart beats like a heavy war drum. Pure mana flows through his veins and illuminates his skeleton with a power he never felt before. Ancient ruins surround him in this desolate wasteland where his new journey is about to truly begin. Golden eyes tremble with pure terror as sweat drops fall down his face. Paris is gone and the iconic Eiffel Tower lies buried under a mountain of endless golden sand. Skyscrapers crumble into dust around a mysterious monolith standing in the center of the ruined city. His iris glows like a dying star as the heartbeat of a survivor echoes through the silence. Massive structures float in the air as if gravity itself decided to quit on this doomed planet. Air escapes his lungs as the young man struggles to keep his consciousness until his body fails. Earth looks like a withered marble floating in the dark void of space without any sign of life. A bright spark ignites deep within his soul, promising a power that could change everything forever. Muscles bulge with intense pressure as he screams the name of his ultimate move called the Sandblaster. The beam of pure energy pierces through the giant beast and erupts in a fountain of dark blood. Fingers crush the jagged rocks because he vows to stay alive despite the overwhelming odds. Dark liquid leaks from his mouth, but his spirit remains unbroken in this desolate world of dust. Shadows dance around his broken body as he stands tall in a world that tried to bury him. Those piercing eyes now burn with a wild desire to hunt down every monster left in this wasteland. Victory tastes like iron as he stares at the massive corpse of the creature he just obliterated. Intense agony burns through his veins as the golden lightning crackles across his trembling body. Power surges through every single cell until he realizes this is the true moment of his grand awakening. Suddenly a monstrous sandworm erupts from the desert floor and reaches for the clouds with its jagged maw. Sandstorms dance around the beast as it prepares to crush the tiny human standing in its path of destruction. Instead of running away, the boy stares directly into the throat of death and dares the monster to attack. A massive warrior slams the protagonist into the dirt and mocks him for being nothing but a failed test subject. Terror fills his golden eyes as the overwhelming weight of this new enemy paralyzes his very soul. One devastating blow sends the boy flying through the air like a broken doll against the scorching desert heat. Impact shatters the ground beneath him as he gasps for air and tastes the bitter dust of his own defeat. People watching the fight wonder how a nobody like him survived such a lethal strike from a master. Sweat drips down his face, but he refuses to give up since the goal is finally within his reach. Black energy splatters against the ancient stone wall as the villain realizes this kid is tougher than he looks. Standing tall with a giant blade, the warrior prepares to end this game once and for all. His heavy boot connects with the boy's chest to send him falling back down to the bottom of the tower. Gravity takes over and the protagonist vanishes into a cloud of smoke as he plummets toward the earth. Shocked eyes scan the chaos as blue energy streaks past his face like deadly lightning. Jang Yongbyum obliterates a massive sandworm in a single heartbeat with his giant blade. Our protagonist stares in pure awe, but Giselle just screams with joy for her favorite captain. She brags about his speed since nobody has ever seen a monster fall that fast before today. Frost begins to crawl up the boy's arm as a strange chilling sensation takes over his body. Sarcastic comments fly as the rookie claims that killing a sandworm is actually no big deal. Intense brown eyes narrow as the veteran leader observes the weak rookie standing before him. An annoyed sigh leaves his lips because these two are acting like children in a desert wasteland. Giselle salutes with a massive grin and prepares to handle the situation her own way. Suddenly she grabs the boy and flips him onto the burning sand with incredible strength. Dust clouds erupt everywhere as the energetic girl pins him down for a very rough inspection. Everyone watches as she excitedly prepares to reveal his true rank and secret abilities. Confusion washes over her face once she realizes something is seriously wrong with this guy. Her voice trembles as she tells the captain that this young man is actually not an awakened hero. Total silence follows the news that he doesn't even possess a simple rank badge on his arm. Our hero lies in the dirt looking pathetic because nobody can find a single trace of an awakening badge on his body. Time is running out since the sun is setting and this angry guy screams for everyone to get moving right now. This blue-haired girl holds his arm and asks the captain if they should just leave the poor guy to die in the heat. Cold eyes stare down at the boy as the leader calculates if this mysterious stranger is even worth the effort today. Dust covers his face, but his sharp gaze shows that he is definitely not some random weakling waiting for his end. Just toss the kid inside the vehicle since he was heading towards the mines anyway, and the girl lifts him easily. The massive camo truck roars through the endless desert dunes, leaving a trail of dust under the orange burning sky. Everyone inside the car starts yelling at the boy because he keeps rushing into danger alone like a total lunatic. Ropes bind his hands tightly, but the protagonist just ignores the screaming match to focus on the bumpy ride ahead. Something strange begins to happen as the particles of dirt near his face start to swirl like a tiny golden tornado. Sand erupts from the floor of the truck and flows toward him as if it has a mind of its own in this moment. Shock strikes his heart when he realizes that he can actually control the earth and has finally awakened a hidden power. Confusion hits him because his rank badge is still invisible to everyone else despite this massive surge of energy. A faint mark emerges on his arm that perfectly matches the color of the sand, making it impossible for others to spot. Every awakened soul carries a badge that reflects their affinity and seems to be perfectly hidden from the world. Magic users in this world show their worth with a bright blue glow that signals their mystical talent. Warriors radiate a deep red energy to prove their physical strength as they crush anyone standing in their way. Rare cases exist with strange affinities that nobody can explain because the system is full of hidden secrets. Controlling sand is a power that nobody has ever heard of until this mysterious boy appeared out of nowhere. Even if the system says he is just a weak rank F loser, the protagonist knows his potential is as vast as the desert. A wicked smile grows on his face because he knows something the rest of the world has not realized yet. This boy decides to hide his true strength and endure the humiliation until the perfect moment to strike arrives. Soon the entire world will become his stage as he prepares to rule every grain of sand on this planet. Massive stone spikes pierce the sky above a dangerous outpost where the sun never stops burning the ground. Our hero enters the Mana Stone mine and looks around to see if anything seems out of the ordinary here. An angry guard shouts at him to move faster, but the prisoner just complains about his hands being tied up tightly. They walk into the industrial facility as the higher-ups watch every single step they take from the shadows. That girl thinks he just got lucky for surviving the disaster, but the leader knows something is very wrong. Luck has nothing to do with it, and the veteran warrior can see the truth hidden behind those tired eyes. The commander stares intensely at the newcomer, trying to figure out how a weak boy survived such a massacre. Cold abyss stares back as the mysterious hole leads deeper into the unknown depths of this cave. A massive industrial structure looms ahead as the boy realizes he forgot to even ask for that man's name. Neon lights flicker in this dystopian city where thugs and beautiful girls walk the same dangerous streets. Chaos erupts in the crowded mess hall as workers gather to forget the misery of their daily industrial life. This loud guard screams for silence as he drags the bound prisoner toward their final destination. Violence flares up as the soldier threatens to put a bullet right through his skull for talking too much. Indifference fills the air since the captor knows the young man can't do anything to escape this place. Hunger strikes the boy as he looks around the base searching for anything that smells like a warm meal. Smoke rises from the grill as the protagonist finds a food stall and forgets about his dire situation. His eyes widen with sudden realization after seeing something that shakes him to his very core. Propaganda posters decorate the metal walls claiming that hard labor is what makes this city shine. An old cook serves a drink and wonders if the boy finds this place as impressive as everyone else. Scars cover the old man's hands, proving that the energy of this city comes from blood and sweat alone. Curiosity takes over as the boy asks if there is another power source besides the common mana stones. That rough finger points directly at the young man to reveal a truth that changes everything. This crazy old man points a finger and calls the youngster a mere rat who serves as an easy energy source. Shadows dance around the food stall as the elder claims the boy is ready to visit the underworld river. The vendor leans in with a twisted grin, asking if being inside the sandworm felt like a warm return to the womb. Neon lights flicker in the distance as the protagonist insists he only came here to make quick cash. Laughter erupts from the old man as he promises to show the kid something truly hilarious over there. Dirty boxes stack up on metal shelves, hiding secrets that no sane person would ever want to discover today. These dusty boxes look like simple trash, and the boy wonders why the old man is laughing so hard. Those containers actually hold the remains of every poor soul who came here before and failed to survive. Desperate workers climb thick ropes in the dark mines because they fear the death waiting for them below. Humans will sell their own bodies just to avoid the mechanical nightmare of the pits for one more night. Eventually they lose everything and fall into the abyss wishing they had just stayed in the mines. Great men leave marks behind, but the old man claims scum like the hero only leave filth when they die. Anger boils inside the boy as he glares at the man who thinks his entire future is already written in stone. A quick spit hits the ground as the boy asks for the bill only to hear that it costs 10 sol. The hero screams about the price, but in this wasteland even a tiny neat skewer is worth a fortune. MC mocks the quality of the food before admitting he is actually totally broke. Those scammers want 10 sol, but the hero refuses to be their next victim today. Deadly blades flash under the city lights as every chef prepares to end him. Sweat drips down his face, yet his smile remains sharper than their kitchen knives. Danger lurks right behind his back when a silent killer moves in for the strike. His heart skips a beat as the realization of this trap finally hits home. That creepy old man wonders why our guy was so naive to enter this mine alone. Red eyes glow in the darkness and dozens of floating daggers point at his soul. Pressure builds in the room as the mastermind asks for his final decision now. Boom goes the table as the protagonist slams his fist down with pure rage. Anger erupts because paying 10 sol for garbage meat is just a massive joke. This villainous merchant offers a different way to settle the debt with a grin. Everything changes when the old fox points directly at the mana stone in his pocket. Shock consumes his mind since nobody was supposed to know about that secret treasure. Greed fills the air and the boss demands to see the stone for a fair price. The massive subordinate is tired of excuses and demands respect for the risks he took today. This poor kid begs for his life as a giant hand grips his head without any mercy at all. Heavy strikes rain down like a waterfall of pain as the protagonist gets pulverized against the floor. This angry worker screams at his boss, wanting to bury this useless sandblaster right now. Shadows dance across the room as a devastating blow finishes the target before he can even blink. Everyone in the shop stands frozen in horror watching the aftermath of such a violent display. Suddenly the atmosphere shifts as a powerful force erupts and sends bodies flying through the air. Demonic light fills his eyes as a hidden power finally awakens from deep within his soul. Everything goes quiet as the boy snaps back to reality, but the giant hand remains on his head. This monster asks if he was just dreaming, but the protagonist only feels like swearing at his luck. Back in the shop, he finally presents a glowing mana stone to the old merchant behind the desk. That crystal shines with a brilliant blue light, being exactly what the greedy shopkeeper wanted. A twisted smile grows on his wrinkled face as he wonders how much profit he can make today. The merchant offers a pathetic price of 100 sol, which makes the boy explode in pure rage. Life is precious in this wasteland, so being scammed after fighting sandworms is the ultimate insult. Impact slams the protagonist against the cold ground with extreme force. His fingers dig into the dirt because he must endure this pain. Blood drips from his forehead as a wicked grin appears on his face. Giants and thieves roam these streets searching for an easy target to rob. Since they just closed a deal, the old man offers a free gift as change. Countless rows of dusty shelves hold nothing but rusted tools and junk. Every piece of trash gets tossed aside until he finds a small toy. Sharp eyes monitor the kid because his obsession with value is quite rare. Our guy looks like a complete clown now. A sudden discovery makes his eyes widen with shock and curiosity. That specific relic was left behind by a caravan many seasons ago. This hourglass becomes his choice. Massive hands slap his back as the merchant laughs at his weird taste. Before leaving the area, he asks for the name of the strange fellow. Klexi shouts his name through the dark alley as the boy vanishes. Our hero bids a cold farewell to the old man named Klexi, hoping they never cross paths in this lifetime again. The elder walks away laughing because he knows something this young brat has yet to discover about his destiny. A mysterious hourglass sits on the cold floor waiting for the sand to trickle down and reveal a hidden power. 10 minutes remain before the sand vanishes and the protagonist watches the clock with an intense stare. Inside the dirty miner's dormitory, the young man sits alone and tries to focus his mind on his next objective. Deep breaths fill his lungs as he prepares for a spiritual awakening that could change his miserable life forever. Golden light begins to spark within his pupils and the atmosphere around him grows heavy with pure anticipation. His hands grip the artifact tightly as he commands the flow of time to obey his will with a single word. Reflections within the glass reveal a confused face as he wonders if this relic is truly his key to greatness. Anger boils over since the object failed to trigger his expected awakening, and he slams his fist down in frustration. This strange tool feels incredibly familiar, and he tries to remember where he might have seen such a relic before. Vague memories of a childhood table filled with toys and clocks flash through his mind like a broken record. Strange images of a masked boy appear in the glass as he feels a connection that defies all logic and reason. Suddenly the door shatters as a massive bully named Park Manhwa erupts into the room with a terrifying scream. The giant man demands the kid to crawl back to the mines unless he wants to suffer a world of pain right now. Zeon clarifies his name and complains about not knowing where to go. Suddenly a massive fist flies across the room and sends the boy spinning through the air. That huge hand clenches tight as the brute decides to silence the kid for good. Park Manhwa slams his fist down with enough force to shatter the wooden floor beneath them. Violent kicks rain down on the poor protagonist as he tries to shield his broken body. Life as a weakling without any special powers means he has to endure this absolute humiliation. Manhwa stops the beating and demands that the boy follows him immediately. Pain makes him tremble as he slowly stands up and clutches his chest. His eyes burn with a dark desire for revenge as he promises to kill that monster one day. Both of them arrive at the gloomy entrance of the Sector 3 mine where the real nightmare begins. Our villain barks orders at the local staff to give the new brats some basic equipment for work. Another miner hands over a safety vest but warns that everything comes at a heavy price. Confused thoughts fill his head as he puts on his heavy helmet for the first time. A sharp pickaxe suddenly strikes the top of his head and crushes the protective gear instantly. This cruel master screams about the cost of the broken helmet being taken from his first paycheck. A giant brute with scars demands the young man get sent to the cursed shaft 972 immediately. His voice booms through the tunnels as the older miner quickly grabs the boy and agrees to leave at once. That massive man threatens to end their lives if they dare to return without bringing back enough mana stones. This bottomless pit feels cold since the boss is taking out his gambling frustrations on every single worker today. Small talk fills the elevator as they discuss how this underground hell is just like a lawless city full of crime. Business thrives in this dark hole because fools keep losing their money to the shady bosses running the show. Soft hands and pale skin make the boy complain that this heavy labor will definitely cause some painful bruises. A chilling silence follows because the veteran knows that nobody has ever survived long enough to feel any physical pain. Dust and smoke rise from the ground as the metal doors finally open to reveal the entrance of the dreaded shaft. Optimism masks his fear, then the protagonist asks if mining stones is his only task for the long day ahead. Dark secrets emerge as the veteran explains that 12 people already disappeared within these jagged walls recently. The older man closes the heavy gate and whispers an apology before leaving the poor kid behind in the shadows. Guilt washes over his tired face, but he knows that entering this place is a guaranteed death sentence for anyone. Panic strikes the boy as he watches the elevator rise and realizes he is now trapped alone in a literal graveyard. His eyes widen in pure terror, then the realization hits that his partner actually lured him into a fatal trap. Rage fuels his every swing as he screams at the people who dumped him in this miserable hole to rot forever. Disaster strikes instantly when the heavy pickaxe slips from his sweaty grip and flies into the darkness above. His heart sinks as the iron head disappears into the deep shadows of the mine forever. Silence fills the cavern as our hero stands alone, wondering where on earth he ended up after that mistake. Thick waves of mana swirl around the damp walls like a ghostly fog that only a true expert could ever notice. Every step forward becomes nearly impossible because the magical pressure starts crushing his lungs with every breath. Gold eyes widen with sudden realization when a faint glimmer catches his attention through the dense purple haze. Success finally arrives as he spots the broken tool lying on the cold ground just a few feet away. Everything feels hopeless since the wooden handle snapped in half, leaving him with nothing but a useless piece of metal. Doom awakens beneath his boots when a massive crimson vortex erupts from the floor to swallow him whole. Terror flashes across his face as the reality of a hidden portal sinking into the earth becomes his nightmare. Gravity vanishes and drags him down into a blood-red abyss before he can even scream for help. Dark energy pulls his body into the depths as his mining helmet falls away into the swirling red mist. Only a broken pickaxe remains under the dim light of the cave to mark the spot where the young man vanished. Heartless neighbors whisper in the rain that the boy is already a goner since his own parents abandoned him to the streets. Life treats this poor guy like trash as bullies kick him into the dirt for stealing a single piece of meat. Desperation drives him to sprint through the streets with stolen goods as an angry mob chases him down the block. Everything goes south when he accidentally ends a life, and now he has to vanish before the authorities hunt him. Gravity betrays his tired body as he plunges into a dark abyss while lightning crackles through the empty void. Survival is the only thing on his mind as he pants heavily before searching for a way out of this nightmare. Dust clouds swirl around his broken frame as he finally hits the ground in a place that feels completely wrong. Confusion hits like a truck as he clutches his throbbing head and wonders why the air feels so heavy and hot. Scorched earth covers the entire floor as his fingers brush against the black ash of this mysterious new world. Terror fills his eyes as the reality of his situation sinks in and his heart begins to race against his chest. Memories of the portal flash through his mind as he realizes that his life just took a massive turn for the worse. Lava flows through jagged rocks in this hellish landscape that looks like a high-rank dungeon meant for true warriors. Smoke rises from his fingertips as the extreme heat of the ground begins to cook his skin alive within seconds. Pain erupts through his entire arm as he stares at the sizzling flesh and feels the soul-crushing temperature. Screams of pure agony echo across the wasteland as he leaps away from the burning floor to save his own feet. Reality crushes his hopes of this being a dream since he is now stuck in Neo's soul without any gear to survive. Dust and volcanic ash cover his hand as the toxic air begins to burn his lungs with every single breath. Tightening his gear is the only way to ensure he stays alive in this hellish wasteland today. Xian fixes his makeshift mask and searches for a way out of this deadly dungeon before it is too late. That massive peak stands as the highest point and the only possible exit in this sea of eternal flames. Silence fills the air without any monsters in sight, so the hero decides to make his move right now. Speed is everything as his boots strike the scorched earth and he takes the shortest path toward the mountain. Flames erupt around him, but this young warrior refuses to give up on his life until the very end. Death almost claims him when he barely lands on a narrow ledge far above the river of flowing magma. Disaster strikes as the unstable rock beneath his feet starts to crumble into the burning abyss below. Xian reaches out with everything he has left and prays for his fingers to find a solid grip. Strength surges through his tired muscles as he pulls his body away from the certain death waiting below. Heat waves distort the air around him, yet he continues to crawl forward across the boiling surface. Heavy gasps for air show just how close he came to meeting his end in that pit of fire. Rage boils inside his heart and his fist clenches tight against the ground as he thinks of his enemy. Manhwa will pay for this betrayal once the protagonist finally makes it out of this nightmare alive. The young warrior breathes heavily as he finally lets his anger consume every fiber of his being to survive. His fist clenches tightly as he vows to fight through the pain and find a way back home no matter the cost. Only 4 more steps remain between him and his ultimate freedom from this nightmare land. Massive walls of flowing lava stand before him as he counts the final jumps to reach the exit. Focus fills his eyes because any small mistake will lead to an instant demise in this burning pit. This hero refuses to let his life end in such a miserable place as he pushes his body past its limits. Every muscle screams in agony, but his determination keeps him moving forward toward the impossible goal. A massive beast of fire opens its jaws to swallow him whole as he leaps directly into the mouth of death. Sharp spikes erupt from the ground as the impact shatters the very foundation of the volcanic chamber. Lava explodes in every direction as the sheer force of the struggle turns the room into a chaotic furnace. Huge scales of a legendary dragon emerge from the depths of the magma to challenge his will to live. Ancient glowing eyes watch his every move while the predator prepares to finish this intruder once and for all. Heat waves distort the air around him as he gasps for a single breath of oxygen amidst the thick smoke. This boy raises a handful of melting debris to unleash a new power hidden deep within his soul. Ash from the volcano obeys his command and a sudden hope shines through the dark clouds. Gravity pulls him down into a dark pit as his body slams against the hard stone floor. Scorching heat radiates from the ground as Xian realizes this dungeon is a literal oven. Sweat stings his eyes and his lungs burn from the toxic ash filling every corner of the room. Darkness begins to swallow his vision and he wonders if this is where his journey finally ends. Fingers dig deep into the dry earth as the young man refuses to let go of his last breath. The boy stands on trembling legs and screams about the unfairness of dying before he even finds love. Dust shatters under his heavy boot as a new spark of determination ignites within his tired soul. Powerful energy swirls around his arms as he offers a crocodile bag to Uncle Yomra instead of his life. A massive beast of fire and rock erupts from the ground with a roar that shakes the cavern walls. Pure desperation forces a gut-wrenching scream from his throat as the flames consume his surroundings. Sudden silence follows until a mysterious voice echoes through the cave to comment on his unique ability. Startled eyes scan the shadows as the boy asks if his uncle is the one speaking from the dark. Shock paralyzes his heart once the stranger mentions that sand manipulation is a truly fascinating skill. Someone descends from the ceiling as if gravity means nothing to the mysterious figure falling through the air. This terrifying old man reveals a wicked grin that suggests Zeon just met a whole new level of trouble. A massive hand grips the sword hilt with enough strength to shatter solid steel instantly. This terrifying old man with wild white hair lunges forward as if he wants to devour the entire world. Fear strikes Zeon's heart when he realizes that something massive is descending from the heavens right now. That colossal pillar of pure light shatters the atmosphere and obliterates the ground in a single heartbeat. Shockwaves rip through the volcanic cavern as the floor disintegrates under that overwhelming pressure. Dust and debris explode into the air since the heat from the blast turns the surroundings into a furnace. Our hero screams in agony since the sheer force of the impact threatens to tear his body apart. Confusion takes over as Zeon clutches his bleeding ears and wonders if he just lost his hearing forever. Zeon scans the chaotic mess and notices the mysterious old man has vanished into the thick smoke. Below the cliff, a legendary dragon stirs in the lava and a dark figure stands before the beast. Mana energy feels completely different from any awakener the boy ever met back in the city. Dark shadows dance amidst the flames as a warrior with glowing red eyes appears like a god of war. Every single instinct screams that this monster exists on a level that defies all logic and reason. Heavy boots crunch against the scorched earth as the figure slowly walks toward the terrified protagonist. Deep and cold, the man's voice demands to know the name of the lucky punk who survived the blast. This scary old man demands an immediate answer before he finishes counting down all the way to 3. The veteran warrior starts with 3 as the tension in the air becomes thick enough to choke a person. Then comes 2 as the shadow of certain death looms over our protagonist in this burning wasteland. Everything stops at 1 and the reflection of a monster fills the boy's trembling eye. That massive warrior looks down and simply says wrong to signal the end of his patience. He grabs his sword handle, claiming he can finally hear the sound of the kid's terrified soul. Crimson eyes glow with a murderous intent as the old man prepares to deliver a final blow. Panic explodes from Zeon as he begs for his life since he has no idea what is happening today. Now the boy screams his name at the top of his lungs, hoping to survive another minute. Such an ancient master mocks the name Zeon and calls it the most pathetic thing he ever heard. Pure energy erupts from the earth as a massive red beam shatters the silence of the canyon. Clouds of dust scatter as the legendary warrior reveals his true name is Daoden. Zeon shouts back in confusion because this situation is getting weirder by the second. Anger fuels the kid as he asks why he keeps getting threatened by a total stranger. Even after being saved, he calls the old man a dumbass for acting like a complete lunatic. An old warrior with silver hair looks down as he explains that the kid just got caught in a deadly magical snare. Red energy leaks from the walls because this dungeon reached its limit and needed a gap to release all that pressure. These crimson ribbons of mana wrap around the boy because the snare consumes any living thing that gets too close today. Anger flares in his chest as he realizes that the bastard Park Manhwa literally sent him into a trap to die for nothing. This legendary old master keeps calling the kid a total dumbass as they stand in the middle of this volcanic graveyard. Large hands suddenly grab the boy as the elder demands that he stops talking to focus his mana on his vision. Golden energy begins to condense within his iris as the student follows the orders of the mysterious savior behind him. Everything changes when he stops looking with his physical eyes and starts feeling the flow of magic around his body. Total shock hits him as a massive and terrifying monster reveals its true form through the shimmering waves of heat. Fear makes him sweat as the protagonist wonders what kind of demonic creature has been stalking him from the shadows. That gargantuan beast uses stealth to consume prey before they even realize their lives are already over in this hellish pit. Horror fills his mind since he didn't feel a single hint of danger despite the predator standing right in front of his face. Realization strikes as he looks at the trail of destruction and understands that his life was almost extinguished right here. Gratitude replaces fear because this old man has already saved his miserable life twice in less than a single hour. Our hero stares at the stoic warrior and wonders how much power is hidden within the soul of this legendary figure. Zeon demands to know the identity of the mysterious warrior who calls himself Daoden in this desolate place. Confusion takes over as the boy screams about where they are and how a human can possess such a terrifying level of power. This underground hell is just a hunting ground for the old man, who stares back with an expression of pure boredom. A wicked smile stretches across the veteran's face as he tells the kid to watch the true nature of this world unfold. The ancient name Crayon echoes through the air as the intricate patterns on his dark armor begin to glow with accursed light. Shadows erupt into a massive pillar of destruction that shatters the very concept of peace in this volcanic chamber. Sudden high-pitched ringing pierces through his skull and the protagonist collapses as he clutches his ears in agony. Shock freezes his heart as he wonders what kind of forbidden magic that monster just unleashed upon the entire room. Flaming crows descend from the ceiling like a swarm of angry spirits hungry for the soul of the young intruder. That old bastard calls the boy a total idiot for standing still while death approaches on wings of eternal fire. Survival is a test that everyone must pass alone, and the master demands to see if this kid has any real worth today. One massive bird dives through the smoke with its talons ready to finish the boy before he can even blink. Movement becomes a blur as the protagonist realizes these creatures move faster than his golden eyes can track. Fiery strikes rain down from every angle as the air turns into a furnace of sharp feathers and lethal energy. Sparks fly as the ground beneath his feet shatters under the weight of the monster's relentless and deadly strike. Firebirds swarm everywhere, and our hero realizes he cannot even outrun these blazing monsters. He swipes his arm through the air, but those creatures are way too fast for his human reflexes. These demonic ravens move like flickering flames, and they keep targeting his left side with pinpoint accuracy. Sharp beaks tear through his clothes as the boy screams in agony under the relentless assault of fire. His eyes dart around the room since neither his vision nor his sand can track such incredible speed. Panic takes over his mind because he knows that staying still means a painful death in this volcanic pit. Memories of the old man flash through his head as he refuses to become a useless burden again. Impact sends him crashing into the dirt while a mysterious voice suddenly echoes through the smoke. That legendary master stands tall and mocks the kid for being unable to answer a simple question. Dark blood stains the scorching ground and he desperately searches for a way to detect the unseen. Flames erupt across the entire chamber as the veteran warrior calls him a complete moron for his lack of focus. Wounds cover his trembling arms, but the master is finally ready to teach him a brutal lesson in power. Mana begins to swirl around his head as the instruction to look deeper into the energy fills his mind. His iris ignites with a golden glare because seeing with mana is the only way to survive this trial. One monster dives through the air with lethal intent, but the boy can finally perceive its every movement. Destruction rains from the sky as a massive explosion of flames consumes every single thing within his sight. Golden eyes glow through the smoke as he focuses his senses to feel the crushing weight of the monster's mana. Shadowy creatures swirl in the darkness as a mysterious voice tells him to strike back from the shortest distance. Memories of that old shopkeeper flash through his mind because this intense battle style feels strangely familiar. Sudden realization hits his heart as he wonders if that old man predicted this entire disaster from the very start. Hellish flames reveal a colossal lava dragon as the boy screams to know the true identity of the mysterious elder. Laughter echoes through the burning cavern as the old warrior stands tall on the snout of the legendary beast. A blinding pillar of pure energy slices through the volcanic air to obliterate the foundation of the entire world. Demonic hunger fills the veteran's face as he demands more strength from the chaotic power surging through his veins. This veteran falls through the embers and stares down the darkness with a wicked grin of absolute confidence. Impact shatters the scorched earth when a devastating blow sends the massive creature crashing into the fiery abyss. Cold disappointment fills his voice as the old master looks down at the defeated monster with a bored expression. His massive blade returns to its scabbard as the warrior turns his back on the carnage in the hot wind. Complaints about the lack of strong monsters today fill the air since he was just getting warmed up for real. Blood drips from his forehead as the boy admits that he actually feels a bit sorry for the poor monsters. Bodies of massive beasts litter the ground as our hero stands amidst a sea of dead monsters like a true god of war. Blood drips down his face and he laughs like a maniac because the path ahead finally seems clear of any danger. Sudden dread washes over his soul as a terrifying sound echoes through the walls to remind him that the worst is coming. Waves of molten fire erupt from the earth as the entire cavern shakes under the weight of an ancient and primal power. Every bone in his body screams in agony as the sheer pressure of this new presence forces the young man to his knees. Useless lungs struggle for air as blood splatters against the rocks from the overwhelming aura of the monster nearby. That legendary warrior appears out of thin air to explain that the deafening sound is actually the roar of a boss. Massive claws made of pure destruction emerge from the lava because every dungeon hides a source of infinite energy. Shadows of a winged nightmare dance across the ceiling and the veteran admits this is the only reason he came here. Terror paralyzes the boy as he gazes upon a creature that belongs in the darkest legends of the forgotten human world. A wicked smile grows on the old man's face since he has been waiting a lifetime to face such a magnificent opponent. Crimson fire and blue lightning collide as the mighty crimson drake reveals its jagged body to the two mere mortals. Questions fill his mind as he asks if it is a dragon, but the master says it is just a rank B beast called a drake. Pure white light blinds everyone as the realization of facing a high-level threat begins to sink into his trembling mind. An ancient field manifests around the beast and creates a separate dimension where only the strongest will survive. The legendary warrior towers over the boy and asks if a mere punt like him actually knows about magical fields. High-rank monsters possess unique traits that define their combat style and the level of destruction they can cause. Blue energy signals a rare type of power that most humans can only dream of seeing once in their entire lives. A massive obsidian dragon erupts from the mountainside as it clashes against a storm of absolute zero ice. Our hero screams in pure disbelief after witnessing a magic-type monster with such a ridiculous amount of power. That veteran warrior ignores the heat and leaps into the sky to carve a line of death across the beast. Huge pieces of armor shatter as the old man proves that even a dragon can bleed if you strike hard enough. Xian watches the carnage and realizes his past life of editing videos did not prepare him for this scale of war. Every single trick the protagonist learned means nothing when facing a legend who treats a god like a common dog. White light descends like a divine hammer to crush the skull of the ancient lizard before it can even roar again. Sharp claws dig into the rock as the beast tries to resist the overwhelming pressure of the old man. Darkness follows his blade and each swing of that heavy steel sends a wave of pure vacuum through the air. Red eyes glow with bloodlust as the master lands a final blow that shakes the very foundation of the earth. That monster prepares a final blast of blue energy, but the man just stands there without showing any fear. A wicked grin reveals sharp teeth because this fight is just a warm-up for the monster hunter. A titanic monster erupts from the earth as a legendary warrior descends from the sky to deliver a devastating strike. Laughter fills the air as this old man mocks the dragon, asking if it finally feels the sting of his cold steel. His fingers tighten around the blade because he intends to end the suffering of this beast with a single lethal blow. Crimson energy explodes across the battlefield as the master marks this day as the final moment for the ancient dragon. Xian screams in pure terror as he realizes he might die just from being caught in the crossfire of these two gods. Blood splatters everywhere as the boy sprints for his life while the clash behind him shatters the very fabric of reality. Our hero leaps over the debris and prays that his legs can carry him away from the carnage of this epic battle. Shards of ice and rock erupt behind him like a volcanic explosion that threatens to consume every living thing in sight. Even the simple shockwaves from their battle are enough to crack the earth and send the kid flying across the stone floor. Dust stings his eyes as he tries to maintain his balance amidst the chaos of a fight that is way beyond his level. Madness glimmers in the old warrior's eyes because he finds this life or death struggle to be nothing more than a game. That massive crimson beast roars in agony as the man treats the back of a dragon like his own personal playground. Impact after impact turns the arena into a graveyard of fire and smoke as the legendary master finishes his dark work. Massive pillars of stone rise around the young man who stands alone in the center of a newly formed crater of destruction. Shock consumes his expression when the silence finally returns and he sees the absolute magnitude of the power on display. Xian curses his rotten luck as the ground beneath his feet vanishes into a void of pure heat. Gravity pulls his body into a swirling tunnel that seems to lead directly into the center of the earth. Impact shatters his senses as the young man tumbles down a jagged slope of burning volcanic rock. Suddenly the floor disappears again, leaving him suspended in the air over a sea of endless orange sand. Shock paralyzes his soul because this mysterious world is far more dangerous than any mine he ever worked. Those golden eyes narrow to focus on a scene that defies every single law of nature in this wasteland. Above the flames, a colossal obsidian dragon clashes against a force that shakes the very foundations of the dungeon. Madness shines in the eyes of a wild old warrior who laughs at the face of such a legendary prehistoric predator. This insane master stands tall over the beast and mocks its title as a supposedly invincible dungeon boss. Frigid energy gathers inside the dragon's mouth as it prepares to unleash a breath of absolute zero upon the world. Silver hair glows with immense power as the veteran warrior dares the monster to show its true killing intent. A pillar of blinding blue light descends from the heavens to obliterate everything standing in its destructive path. Total whiteout consumes the battlefield as the sheer pressure of the attack turns solid rock into fine powder. Smoke rises from the dragon's snout after surviving a strike that would have finished any normal living being. Chilling words echo through the chamber as a mysterious voice asks if the giant beast is finally looking for its end. Destructive waves of crimson energy erupt from the earth as a legendary blade descends into the crater below. Dark scales shimmer under the moonlight as a monstrous drake opens its jagged maw to release a deafening roar. This legendary warrior wandered through the endless desert for an entire year just to find this elusive beast today. His mission is simple since he needs the heart of this monster to forge a mystical weapon known as crayon. Red light flickers in his eyes as the old master prepares to finish this hunt with a single cold and lethal word. Smoke swirls around the hilt of his massive blade while ancient runes begin to glow with a terrifying power. Chaos explodes in a fountain of blue mist as the heavy sword crushes the spirit of the ancient mountain dragon. Intense heat radiates from the edge of the blade until the metal starts to glow like a star in the night sky. Strange symbols pulse with a heartbeat of their own because this weapon is more than just a piece of iron. Shards of reality seem to float around the veteran warrior as he stands tall among the ruins of his fallen enemy. Steam rises from the dark steel and the atmosphere grows heavy with the scent of ozone and a defeated prey. Victory belongs to this mysterious figure who holds his sword with the confidence of a man who conquered death. Laughter echoes through the cavern as the old man starts talking to his blade as if it were an old friend. Xeon hides nearby and wonders if this legendary fighter is actually just a total lunatic today. Shock fills the air when the old master notices that the young moron actually survived the carnage of the battle. Xeon stares into the distance and admits that death almost claimed his soul during that intense battle. Gravity vanishes as his body plunges through the scorching air toward the golden dunes below him. Dark liquid streaks down his face and his wide eyes reveal the pure shock of this supernatural experience. Screams of frustration echo across the wasteland as the young man clutches his head in absolute agony. Jagged shadows erupt from the ground to pierce his clothing and trap him in a cage of dark energy. Impact from the magical explosion sends him flying backward as the sand beneath him shatters into pieces. Air fills his lungs and the survivor realizes he somehow cheated death once again in this brutal world. A legendary warrior looks down with a mocking smile and calls the boy a lucky moron for surviving. Total destruction begins as the ancient master warns that the entire dungeon is about to collapse. Confusion fills his mind because he wonders why this powerful stranger is suddenly grabbing him. Laughter booms through the crumbling cave, then the old man prepares to send the kid on a new adventure. "Farewell, moron," is the last thing he hears before a massive hand tosses him into a swirling black vortex. This young man screams at the top of his lungs because the crazy old bastard is even worse than his enemies. Bright light blinds him for a second, then the familiar sight of the endless desert appears before his eyes. The portal spits him out like trash and he tumbles across the burning sand with a painful groan. Xeon collapses onto the sand, spitting out the bitter dust as a massive rift remains open right behind his broken body. This mysterious old man gets closer and calls our hero a total moron for his lack of basic survival skills today. He towers over the boy demanding his sand powers but laughs because a weakling like him is absolutely useless now. One finger points toward the horizon as the master says he can just walk back to Neo's soul and return to his miserable life. A wicked grin appears on his face as he offers a second path to follow him and become a much better moron. Confusion takes over while he wonders what this crazy old warrior is talking about or how long the journey might last. The legendary figure admits that training could take months or even several decades until the perfect time finally comes. Shock fills the boy's heart as he realizes that his entire fate is hanging by a single thread in this very moment. Comfort is an option, but the other path is a suicide mission with a 99% chance of dying horribly. Those golden eyes meet the gaze of a monster as the final choice to change his destiny forever is placed in his hands. Xian stays low on the hot sand with a wicked smile that hides 1,000 dark secrets from his past life. This kid points a finger and asks the old warrior if he finally lost his mind in this burning wasteland. Decision time arrives as he compares a warm bed to the hellish heat of this endless desert landscape. Daoden confirms the offer with a look that promises either ultimate power or a very painful grave today. Silence follows as the protagonist accepts the deal because staying weak is much worse than dying fast. Fate ties them together as the shadow of a legendary master leads the way across the Golden Dunes. Revenge is the only thing driving his heart since he refuses to let anyone look down on him again. That twisted grin reveals a dangerous promise that even this powerful teacher might be a target later. Our guy admits that this giant warrior is the strongest person he has ever seen in this broken world. Laughter erupts from the old man because he wonders if the boy is actually ready to face certain death. Sand swirls around his fist as the kid vows to surpass every single living soul on this doomed planet. A menacing smile remains on the veteran's face as he warns that this certainty will bring only regret. Their journey truly begins as the old master barks orders for the idiot to keep up with his insane pace. The sun burns through the clouds to remind them that nature is the true ruler of this unforgiving desert. Pure agony fills his voice as the kid screams for a break because this training pace is purely demonic. Xian wipes sweat from his face and begs for a break since they have been walking for 6 straight hours now. That massive sword on the master's back doesn't move as he ignores the boy and continues his path through the desert. Screams of frustration erupt from the kid because this old man has more mood swings than a moody teenage girl today. Heat levels reach 50 degrees and the scorching sun burns his skin until every breath feels like swallowing liquid fire. Heavy boots sink deep into the dunes and he fears that heatstroke or dehydration will finish him before they arrive. Exhaustion takes over, but the legendary warrior just calls him a complete idiot for wasting 99% of his soul. Daoden pauses to mock the boy because having sand powers and struggling to walk on sand is truly a pathetic sight. Excuses fly as the protagonist shouts that his awakening only happened just the other day in that dark mine. A cold stare from the old master follows that weak explanation as he wonders why the kid keeps making excuses for himself. Xian claims he is just a lowly F-rank loser who cannot compare to the high-level monsters standing right before him. Sudden rage explodes from the veteran as he tells the kid to stop spouting that absolute nonsense about ranking systems. Massive hands grab his collar while the master asks if he thinks S-rank heroes are just born with their divine strength. Daoden demands to know if the boy will simply quit because he wasn't born with a golden spoon in his mouth today. Words like blessed echo through his mind as the young man stares at the terrifying pressure coming from this legend. This old master tells him to stop whining and start using his brain before his healthy body goes to waste in the dirt. The master grips his collar and reminds the boy that this hidden sand power belongs solely to him. Every secret must be discovered by the boy alone if he wants to survive the horrors of the coming night. Daoden shouts like a madman and tells the young rookie to stop whining and start acting like a real warrior. Failure means death in this wasteland as the legendary hunter literally shakes some sense into his new student. Heavy leather boots strike the dry ground as the protagonist prepares to test his newfound control over the dunes. Particles of gold dance around his body while the young man stands tall amidst the swirling storm of his own making. Only a 5-meter radius is within his reach today, but it should be enough to keep the monsters at bay. Deep sand drains his precious energy, so the boy searches for a clever way to bypass this natural obstacle. Solid platforms emerge beneath his boots as he compresses the earth into a firm path for his journey. Success brings a wide grin to his face since he can finally glide across the sand without wasting any more effort. Mana levels drop faster than expected and the boy admits that this brute force method is simply not sustainable. Both legs glow with a warm light when he shifts his focus to navigate this harsh and unforgiving terrain. Ancient eyes observe the training from afar as the veteran hunter smiles at the determination of the younger generation. Xian collapses into the dust with a heavy cough but refuses to stop until he masters this difficult technique. That system might rank him as a total loser, but his actual talent is already reaching incredible new heights. Xian realizes his mana control over the sand actually works as he glides through the dunes with ease. Excitement fills his voice as he brags to the master about how easy it is to move using his hidden power. That bratty smile returns when he sticks his tongue out to mock the old warrior for being a slow walker. Sudden impact shatters his arrogance as a heavy fist connects with his skull like a falling meteor. Daoden looks down at the fallen boy and warns him not to waste any more energy on such stupid games. Panic strikes the master for a second since the kid looks like a literal corpse lying in the dust. Vision returns slowly as the protagonist wakes up in a different place wondering if he finally died today. The old master is busy eating and complains that he just wasted a lot of precious time helping a loser. Wounds cover his entire body, yet a piece of dry meat suddenly hits his face to interrupt his thoughts. This piece of jerky looks like the most delicious treasure to a boy who hasn't eaten in many days. Stories from a forgotten era fill the air as the warrior tells him to eat and listen carefully to his words. Long ago, even the weakest humans could survive because people took pride in protecting those without any power. Reality is much darker now because the world changed into a graveyard where the strong consume everything. One choice remains, since he can either die in the sand or stand up on his own like a real warrior. Zeon swallows the meat and admits that he finally understands what it takes to survive in this hell. Zeon stares in disbelief because the simple acts of survival are way harder than fighting any monster. Both of them sit under the dark sky as the boy wonders just how many centuries this ancient warrior has survived. That veteran slowly sucks on a piece of dry jerky to soften the meat with his own saliva instead of chewing it. Water conservation is the only rule in this wasteland, and the rookie wishes he knew this trick before wasting his energy. This legendary master prefers teaching through action instead of just handing out easy answers to the young rookie. Real fish are impossible to find in this dust bowl, so the boy just follows the old man through the endless dunes. Night falls over the sand and the kid begs for one more snack, but the warrior tells him to keep his mouth shut. A loud sneeze echoes through the cold air as the temperature drops below zero in the blink of an eye. Freezing winds bite at his skin, and Zeon finally understands that the desert is a cruel mistress after the sun goes down. Rest becomes impossible since the crazy old man spends the entire night talking to his giant sword like a best friend. Thirst burns his throat until he sees the master wringing out his dusty clothes to catch every single drop of moisture. Anger flares up again because the veteran kept another survival secret to himself until the very last second. Every drop of dew on his sleeves becomes a treasure as the boy tries to stay alive in this barren wasteland. Revenge is the only thing on his mind as he promises to surpass this lunatic and show him true strength one day. The old master calls him a dumbass before asking if he can finally feel the flow of energy moving through the dry air. Zeon tilts his head back in total confusion after hearing the master's strange question about the air around them. A sudden and rhythmic vibration travels through the soles of his boots as if the earth itself is starting to tremble. His heart starts racing once he realizes this powerful movement isn't coming from just one or two small creatures. Massive shadows emerge from the darkness to reveal a pack of monstrous beasts surrounding the two travelers at once. These big horned hyenas usually hunt during the night, but they decided to wake up early just to taste some fresh meat. Daoden mocks the boy by asking if he can handle this mess alone or if he needs his legendary master to save him again. Sudden violence erupts as the alpha beast lunges forward with its jagged teeth ready to tear through his soft human flesh. Zeon shows a wicked grin as he gives a confident thumbs up to prove that he definitely doesn't need any help right now. Every single monster in the pack pounces at the same time as the boy screams his vow to survive this deadly encounter. Golden energy swirls around his fingertips since the protagonist is finally ready to unleash the full power of his sand. Massive pillars of compressed earth explode from the ground to skewer the predators before they can even touch his skin. Intense light burns within his pupils as he pushes his mana to the absolute limit to track every single moving shadow. Sharp sand spikes pierce through the air like divine spears to obliterate the entire pack in one glorious display of force. Pure frustration takes over his voice as he screams at the never-ending wave of crazy bastards coming out of the dark. Exhaustion hits hard as the young man realizes his mana is draining fast and he desperately needs a new plan to stay alive. Raw power is not the answer anymore as our hero realizes he needs total control over his limited mana supply tonight. Sweat falls down his face as he stares at the swirling sand in his palm, trying to find a more efficient way to kill. Sudden movement from the shadows reveals a snarling wolf monster with a sharp horn aimed right at his exposed back. Zeon roars in pure rage as he slams his fist into the annoying beast for dare interrupting his deep concentration today. Sharp pain shoots through his limb when he notices two tiny bleeding wounds that feel like hollow tunnels through his flesh. Confusion turns into a brilliant spark of inspiration after he realizes the true meaning behind those small wind holes. Dozens of these hungry predators charge through the dust with glowing red eyes and a desperate need for human meat. Silence fills the air for a single heartbeat before the pack leaps from every single direction to finish the lonely student. Total clarity hits his mind and the protagonist decides that making small holes is much better than wasting all his energy. A dark shadow on his face reveals a demonic grin as golden sand needles pierce through the skulls of his enemies. Laughter erupts from his throat because a simple puncture is just as lethal as blowing a monster's head into a million pieces. Mastery of his life force becomes the only priority since wasting energy in a real fight is a one-way ticket to a grave. Maximum lethality meets minimum effort when thin golden spikes erupt from the ground to finish 5 beasts at the same time. Our young hero notices the old master taking out the wolves one by one with zero effort as he laughs at the struggle. That legendary warrior mocks the weak attack and tells the kid that his tiny sand needles only tickle a real monster. One massive demonic wolf roars with pure hatred as it stares down its certain doom in this desolate wasteland. Daoden shouts that any dog that bites humans deserves nothing but a swift ending right here and now. A terrifying grin spreads across the master's face since he truly loves the smell of a fresh hunt. Zeon realizes that the old man is about to go crazy again, so he prepares for another massive explosion. That legendary warrior screams about the coming massacre while the ground begins to tremble under his feet. Red lightning shatters the earth as a single sword strike creates massive cracks across the entire battlefield. Shockwaves send the pack of beasts flying through the air like leaves in a violent and destructive storm. Zeon watches in horror because this lunatic doesn't care about anyone else standing near the blast zone today. One single blow carved a massive scar into the planet that looks like the mouth of hell itself. Our protagonist wonders if this man is even human after seeing such raw power without a single active skill. Staying quiet seems like the best idea for survival because one wrong word might lead to an early grave. Daoden sits on the defeated alpha female and complains about the loud noise hurting his sensitive ears. Sudden white lightning erupts from the monster's body as the alpha beast refuses to die without a fight. The veteran realizes too late that this creature is actually a rank B monster with its own force field. Blinding energy consumes the area as the final struggle between the hunter and the beast begins to erupt. Zeon screams for the old man to look out as a massive threat looms right behind his back. Lethal bolts of electricity strike the veteran, but he doesn't even move a single muscle in response. Confusion washes over his face since no normal human should ever survive such a lethal and direct hit. Daoden laughs it off, claiming the lightning actually helped him relax those stiff muscles after a long day. Darkness fills his expression as the legendary warrior prepares to end this annoying pest's life for good. One devastating punch shatters the monster's skull and sends it crashing into the dry desert floor. Blood splatters across his clothes while the boy laughs at how crazy this situation has become today. Our hero now wears a monster skin as the teacher inspects a glowing horn from their latest kill. That jagged horn contains special lightning properties, making it a perfect base for a future divine weapon. Suddenly the old man tosses a sharp dagger toward the boy as a test of his quick reflexes. Food handouts are over as the mentor commands the young rookie to hunt alone from now on. Only the flank meat is safe to eat since the rest of the hyena is filled with deadly toxins. A loud shout echoes through the dunes as the elder tells the dumbass to keep moving. Light pierces the orange sky as they continue their journey through the massive pillars of rock. The boy whistles a happy tune because he actually survived another insane night in the wasteland. Zeon feels his throat burning like a desert furnace, but at least his stomach is full of dry jerky today. Movement becomes effortless as he activates his new sand step skill to glide across the burning dunes like a ghost. Laughter escapes his lips because he asks the old man if he is struggling to keep up with his youthful pace. Sudden violence erupts when a massive fist flies toward his face, but the kid just smirks at the old man. Every single instinct fires at once as he narrowly avoids the strike that would have crushed his skull instantly. Daoden stares down with pure annoyance because this brat keeps acting high and mighty after learning one simple trick. A mouthful of dirt flies out of his mouth as the boy complains that his face is now covered in filth and grit. Something shifts in the dry air since he stops his whining to sniff out a faint scent of moisture nearby. Hope flickers in his chest as he notices the veteran warrior is also staring at the exact same point in the distance. Golden waves of sand stretch for miles and he wonders if a miracle is truly waiting for them just beyond the next hill. Heat waves shimmer across the horizon while the two travelers move toward a destination that seems like a dream. Both travelers reach the top of the massive dune to gaze at the incredible sight hidden in this wasteland. Pure joy explodes across his face because the rumors of a hidden paradise in the middle of this hell were actually true. Sparkling blue water sits in a deep basin of golden earth until the most beautiful oasis appears before their eyes. Legs move in a blur as the protagonist slides down the slope with a wild scream of excitement toward the cool water. The old warrior clicks his tongue in annoyance as he watches the reckless behavior of his new student. Finally, our hero spots a shimmering oasis and sprints toward the refreshing water with pure joy in his heart. Fresh liquid touches his parched skin as the boy dives headfirst into the pool to escape the desert heat. Pure bliss washes over his tired soul while the moisture begins to soak into every single pore of his body. After days in the burning heat of over 50 degrees, this sudden coolness feels like a gift from the heavens. Something feels strange as his golden eyes begin to lose focus and drift into a deep and mysterious haze. Golden rays of light emerge from the darkness of the deep water as if a hidden sun is waiting below. Drowsiness takes over his mind as the protagonist wonders why he feels so heavy and sleepy all of a sudden. A thunderous voice shatters the peaceful silence and tells the idiot boy to get a grip on his life right now. Daoden charges across the golden dunes with incredible speed as he realizes his disciple is walking into a trap. Our hero lies helpless near the edge of the shore while the legendary hunter arrives just in the nick of time. Unexpectedly, a monster with jagged teeth and a glowing lure erupts from the depths to claim a fresh snack today. That veteran warrior grabs the kid by his shirt to yank him away from the snapping jaws of the hungry beast. This gargantuan sand angler towers over them both as it prepares to swallow the entire area in a single bite. Terror strikes his heart because the beautiful oasis was actually just a lethal bait for a prehistoric predator. Daoden leaps through the air like a silver demon to save his student from the jaws of that massive beast. Veins bulge on his hand as the veteran warrior grips his weapon to unleash a final and devastating blow. One single slash obliterates the monster and sends a massive fountain of water exploding into the dry desert air. Water drips from his hair as the boy finally witnesses the true power he only heard about in ancient legends. A beautiful rainbow appears over the massive corpse of the beast, making the whole scene look like a surreal mirage. Master explains that this sand maw uses a bright light to lure fools into its mouth before swallowing them whole. Sudden silence follows as the old man stares at the boy with an expression of pure and absolute disappointment. Violence returns when a heavy fist connects with the kid's head because he fell for such a simple and deadly trap. That master screams at the top of his lungs, wondering why this moron keeps forgetting every single lesson. Anger consumes the warrior as he yells that idiots like him are always the first ones to die in this wasteland. Xian can only pant for air while his teacher tries to calm his nerves after that massive burst of rage. Command follows to skin the creature instantly, but the protagonist has no idea why he needs a monster hide. This sand maw is a rank sea beast with soft belly skin that makes the perfect material for a desert robe. Confusion hits the student as he asks if the legendary master actually needs a new piece of clothing today. Total madness erupts as the old man screams that the robe is for the boy and insults his dwindling intelligence once again. Xian wipes the dark blood from his face before offering a fake apology to the massive monster he just helped take down. Daoden points at the colossal corpse and explains that this terrifying creature actually looks like a fish from ancient Earth. Confused eyes scan the massive beast since the boy has never seen a real aquatic creature in this dry wasteland before today. His heart races as he realizes that the oceans must have been home to some truly terrifying monsters back in the day. A sharp blade sinks into the tough skin of the beast as the protagonist starts the messy work of gathering materials. That old master relaxes on the monster and asks if the kid needs some help scratching the back of this giant sushi. Anger boils in his chest, but the boy knows he must cut through this iron hide to create his own survival gear. Golden energy swirls around his body as he focuses every single drop of mana into his trembling hands. Mana flows into the sharp steel to increase its cutting power until the blade starts to glow with a magical aura. Precision is key as he carefully shaves the monster fin to create a makeshift needle for his new desert outfit. Tendons from the beast become strong threads as the young rookie uses his crafting skills to stay alive in this hell. Sudden inspiration strikes his mind and his eyes sparkle with the realization that he can actually finish this task. Daoden laughs his head off after seeing the pile of ruined leather that looks more like trash than a proper robe. Xian refuses to give up because he still has plenty of monster parts left to try one more time before the sun sets. Darkness finally consumes the desert dunes and the two travelers prepare for whatever nightmares are waiting in the night. Zeon lifts his new masterpiece toward the sky because he finally finished crafting his own desert protection gear. After failing 8 times today, our hero thinks his creation is good enough to be sold in a high-end boutique. Sudden panic strikes as the boy shields his new robe from the master, who keeps calling him a total idiot for no reason. Daoden ignores the silly tantrum and holds up a disgusting organ before ordering the kid to swallow the whole thing. That massive gallbladder from the Manhwa is actually a rare medicine that the student must consume without wasting a drop. Laughter erupts from the old man as he warns that skipping this meal will lead to an instant and painful death tonight. Zeon decides to stop complaining and asks his teacher to just drop the giant slime ball directly onto his open palms. One single drop of the black liquid falls toward his face as he prepares his soul for the worst taste imaginable. Hunger overcomes his disgust, since eating this garbage is much better than suffering another beating from the veteran warrior. His mouth is completely stuffed as the boy looks up to ask his master if he is actually doing this correctly. Every bite feels like eating clouds because the organ is surprisingly light despite the massive size of the beast. The old master watches the boy shovel it down and admits that his student is at least fast at being a glutton. Daoden turns to the fire with a wicked grin and claims it is finally time for the real burning process to begin. Heat waves erupt from within his chest as the protagonist notices his own veins glowing with a terrifying crimson energy. Pure agony rips through his throat while the boy screams in a desperate struggle against the power consuming him from inside. Fire erupts inside his chest as the young man screams about his body burning like a literal furnace of hell. Mana goes completely berserk inside his gut and it feels like a small sun is trying to rip its way out of his skin. That legendary master stands there like a stone statue and calmly tells the dying boy to just endure the agony. Everything in this world is just like a fleeting oasis that eventually vanishes beneath the shifting desert sands. Even the terrifying Manhwa follows a cycle of birth and death as its life circles back to the earth once more. Zeon curses the old man with every breath he has left while the veteran warrior watches with a bored expression. "Stop being so sentimental and just save me before I explode" is the only thing the protagonist can shout right now. Daoden stares back with eyes that have seen 1,000 tragedies and he doesn't seem moved by the boy's pathetic cries. Shadows of the night consume the desert as the master demands absolute silence so he can finally get some sleep. Bright sunlight hits his eyes as the young man wakes up on the dunes wondering where on earth he is right now. A terrifying face suddenly appears upside down as the master asks the idiot if he is finally done with his nap. Shock sends the boy flying backward and he screams at the old lunatic for sneaking up on a sleeping person like that. This was definitely not a peaceful sleep because the boy knows he actually passed out from that overwhelming mana surge. Confusion washes over his face as the protagonist begins to inspect his own body for any permanent damage or scars. Relief washes over his soul when he realizes the burning pain is completely gone and his body feels stronger than ever. Pure energy surges through his veins as his muscles become as dense as thick clay under the scorching sun. Shock consumes his face once he realizes that his mana is roaring like a massive storm inside his broken body. This legendary master reveals that the secret behind this sudden burst of power was just a single organ from the beast. Every drop of that medicine gives a human enough strength to endure the sun and the shifting sands of this desert. Confusion hits the kid because he cannot believe such a valuable treasure was just handed to a weakling like him today. Daoden snaps back, claiming he only did it so his useless student wouldn't become a heavy burden during the long hike. Laughter erupts as the protagonist promises to be the most reliable partner despite the constant insults from the elder. Sunlight pierces through the thick dust to signal the start of another brutal day in this unforgiving wasteland. Silence follows as the veteran warrior stares at the massive ribcage and admits he finally managed to eat his fill. Orders echo through the dunes since it is finally time to leave the skeleton of the monster behind and continue the trek. Zeon shouts with a massive grin and prepares to follow the legendary hunter into the heart of the Golden Desert. Enormous stone pillars reach for the sky as the two travelers vanish into the endless sea of golden dust once again. Wind picks up speed and the boy pulls his hood tight as he chews on a piece of dried meat to keep his strength up. A massive sandstorm hits their path, but his hidden ability turns the lethal winds into nothing more than a cool breeze. His heavy boots keep moving through the chaos without a single pause since his stamina is truly on a different level. Daoden hasn't uttered a single word for days and the boy thinks the old man is having a midlife crisis today. 2 weeks pass as they wander through the canyon and Xian wonders if his master actually knows where they are going. A massive black ant monster erupts from the dust, but the kid is too busy worrying about being lost to notice it. Impact shatters the silence as the boy tells the annoying bug to keep its mouth shut while they are traveling. Silence returns to the wasteland and the young warrior sighs about the endless distance left in their long journey. Sudden focus fills his brown eyes when he senses something far more dangerous lurking just beneath the shifting dunes. This monstrous insect looks sturdy enough to survive a hit, so the protagonist prepares to test his true strength. Peace was his first choice, but it seems these predators refuse to let the two humans walk through their territory. Red outlines reveal a massive swarm surrounding the lonely student as the entire ground turns into a lethal trap. Golden light ignites within his pupils and he dares the monsters to show themselves before he loses his patience. Sand swirls around his hand as he warns the creatures that the old master will finish them if they keep wasting time. Dozens of hungry ants lunge from every direction to turn the young boy into a fresh snack for their colony tonight. Control becomes absolute as he calls the monsters good listeners and prepares to unleash his ultimate offensive move. Sand Blaster erupts with a deafening roar to obliterate every single target with a pillar of pure crushing energy. Vast storms are actually perfect for his talent since there is a literal ocean of sand everywhere he looks today. Screams of pure panic erupt once the boy realizes the old man completely vanished from the area. That legendary master has zero loyalty because he just ditched a student in the middle of a monster nest. Panic turns into regret as the boy wonders if the warrior actually heard those nasty insults about his age. Mana flows through his nervous system as his detection range expands to a 10-meter radius around his body. Constant vigilance becomes his only shield since a single mistake means being eaten alive by these desert predators. Everything shifts suddenly as the vibration in the sand reveals something far larger than a normal scout. Pure terror paralyzes his soul because a massive predator is currently stalking him from right beneath his feet. Swarms of demonic ants erupt from the dunes like a black tide of death hungry for fresh human blood. The protagonist slides through the dust wondering how many of these monsters are hiding under the desert today. That old bastard is actually watching the whole struggle from the safety of a high stone pillar nearby. Daoden sits calmly like a king observing a peasant as he waits for his student to show some real backbone. Anger fuels his spirit as the boy vows to stop crying like a brat and face this army with everything he has left. This entire massacre is just another twisted quest designed by the master to test his control over the sand. A wicked grin spreads across his face since 1,000 bugs are still nothing more than target practice for him. Sand explosions erupt across the valley as the protagonist obliterates the entire swarm in a storm of golden power. Impact sends him flying as the weight of the situation finally hits his tired body like a train. Crimson eyes glare with a primal hunger as another massive beast lunges through the thick dust. Everything goes south as the hero screams about his sudden regret since more insects join the feast. Pride takes over his voice because he demands a fair fight against these mindless and cowardly monsters. Hope vanishes when dozens of red shadows emerge from the dunes to surround their lone and tasty target. Sand erupts in a violent blast of golden power to push the predators back for just 1 second. Chilling sounds of crunching shells echo through the haze before the boy prepares his next move. Gravity loses its grip as a solid platform of earth carries the rookie high above the reach of the swarm. Terror strikes his soul upon seeing the endless depth of a monster nest that stretches toward the abyss. High ground seems like a safe bet because these grounded pests surely lack the ability to touch the sky. Sudden impact shatters his brief moment of relief as a heavy force strikes him from the blinding sun. A gargantuan soldier emerges from the golden waste to prove that height is no protection in this hell. Golden pupils tremble with absolute disbelief as the scale of this nightmare reaches a whole new level. Every bone in his body vibrates from a deafening screech that signals the arrival of a true desert ruler. Violent shockwaves toss his fragile frame like a leaf into the swirling chaos of the collapsing colony. Xian hacks up dark blood as the weight of the massive swarm finally crushes his lungs. Air escapes his lungs as the boy crawls through the dust to find his hidden strength. Dark liquid drips from his lips, but a spark of fire still burns deep inside his golden eyes. Daoden stares down with arms crossed since he expects more than just a pathetic display of weakness. A wicked and demonic grin spreads across Xian's face as he refuses to let this be his end. Shadows of the giant ants loom over his head, yet he tells the master to watch him survive. Laughter erupts from the veteran as he likes the sudden change in his student's pathetic attitude. Sand manipulation is a divine blessing that most fools would kill to possess in this age. This incredible talent could buy a life of luxury instead of suffering in a burning wasteland. Weak people only care about illusions because they never understood why this world truly shattered. Most awakeners are just factory-made soldiers without any real soul or unique power to speak of. Memories of a terrible tragedy from 100 years ago still haunt the old man's weary soul. Blazing fire consumed the skyscrapers as the sky fell upon the civilization of the ancient world. Countless innocent people perished in the flames before his very eyes as he watched in total silence. Friends and family vanished into the ash, leaving him alone in a graveyard of burning metal and bone. Memories of a lost daughter haunt the veteran as he stares at his bloodied hands in the wreckage of a dead world. Every single bug trembles as the boy fights through the swarm with eyes that glow like ancient stars. Daoden watches the kid and claims that crossing the line between life and death will unlock his true potential. A wicked smile grows on the old man's face as he anticipates the birth of a new monster in this wasteland. Giant sand vortexes swirl around the protagonist as he prepares to show these bugs the true meaning of terror. Laughter erupts from his throat because every single monster in this nest is about to be completely obliterated today. One massive demonic insect charges forward with its jagged mandibles ready to crush his fragile human skull. High-pressure energy compresses the earth into a lethal sand missile that can pierce through the toughest armor. Sand missiles launch into the sky as the hero watches his projectiles hunt down every single monster in the vicinity. Gravity and wind combine with his mana to create a massive drill that shadows the entire battlefield with its weight. His power increases tenfold as the golden energy shatters the ground and sends a shockwave through the entire cavern. "This is the end for you all," he screams as the absolute destruction begins to consume every single bug in the vicinity. Pride fills his voice after surviving the assault, and he mocks the monsters for failing to kill him before he evolved. The old master finds the whole display hilarious and teases the punk for getting so excited over a simple victory. Exhaustion hits his body as the young warrior stands among the floating sand needles to catch his breath once more. Zeon stands amidst the massive craters he just carved into the earth with his incredible new powers. Adrenaline pumps through his veins as the boy lets out a wild laugh after tasting true victory for the first time. Daoden hears his student shouting about killing every single monster in this wasteland with his own two hands. Sudden realization hits his face when the atmosphere around him changes into something heavy and cold. A monstrous predator looms right behind him without making a single sound to alert its next prey. Burning pain erupts through his back as the kid realizes those bastards used some kind of lethal poison on him. Everything goes dark when his mana channels suddenly freeze under the influence of that toxic substance. Rage boils inside his chest as he screams at the shadows for trying to stop his glorious evolution today. Chaos erupts when the ground gives way and sends him falling through a jagged crack in the earth. Pure darkness consumes his vision as a single eye watches him plunge into the abyss of the unknown. The hero wakes up in a damp cavern and finds himself surrounded by hundreds of glowing red eyes in the dark. Movement catches his attention as a fat white larva crawls right next to his broken and paralyzed body. Strange screeching sounds fill the tunnel because the queen is ready to feed her hungry children tonight. These disgusting creatures start crawling over his arm to search for a soft spot to sink their teeth. Sharp mandibles latch onto his flesh since the larvae are eager to drain the life from this fresh human snack. Zeon lies paralyzed in the dark as the poison freezes his limbs and the nightmare of being eaten alive becomes real. Shadows dance in his fading vision as a single tear falls because this looks like the pathetic end of his long journey. Darkness consumes his thoughts, but the survivor wonders why his miserable life is flashing before his eyes right now. Disgusting larvae crawl over the damp cave floor as they prepare to feast on the helpless human snack waiting in the dirt. Sudden desperation triggers a spark of will as his heavy fist shatters the ground to reject this cruel and silent fate. Those monstrous ants scream in total shock once they realize their paralyzed prey is still fighting back against the dark. The boy crawls through the filth and curses his rotten luck as he refuses to let these mindless bugs take his soul today. Rage explodes through his veins as his face twists into a demonic mask of pure and absolute hatred for this unfair world. Bright golden lines emerge on his arm to signal that his hidden rank is finally evolving under the pressure of death. A massive pillar of sand erupts from his body and obliterates everything in the room with a violent burst of power. Terrified insects screech in agony as the shockwave from his awakening turns their safe haven into a literal graveyard. Impact crushes the giant ants like fragile toys as the young warrior unleashes a storm of golden death upon the colony. Stone walls crumble into dust from the sheer intensity of the energy flowing through his broken veins today. Thousands of sand spears surround the boy as he sits in the eye of a golden hurricane that devours every single monster. Strength flows back into his muscles as his eyes glow with a new light because his rank just increased by one level. Glowing lines on his skin prove that the boy just achieved a massive breakthrough in his evolution today. Mana surges through his veins as he realizes his current strength is now leagues above any lowly rank F survivor. Sudden focus fills his golden eyes as the protagonist wonders if this new power will be enough to win. That massive monster stands tall without a single scratch on its armored shell despite his recent explosive attack. Shockwaves rip through the cavern while the beast lunges forward to crush the small human with its sheer weight. Rocks shatter into dust as the hero screams about the insane strength of this prehistoric desert predator. Purple eyes glow with a murderous intent as the giant insect prepares to finish its stubborn prey for good. Desperation takes over since all those powerful strikes failed to even leave a tiny dent on that iron hide. Fingers dig into the dirt because he finally admits that raw power is not the way to victory tonight. Every attack seems useless against that mountain of armor and the boy knows he needs a better strategy. High-pressure mana gathers in his palms as he searches for a way to break through the unbreakable defense. Instead of smashing the surface, he decides to find a weak point and rip the entire plating right off. Zeon charges into the mouth of danger as sand swirls around the neck of the screeching demonic beast. Muscles bulge with intense force as he vows to twist and peel the armor away with his bare hands. Agony erupts from the monster as the high-pitched scream of a dying insect fills the entire underground chamber. High-pitched screeches erupt from the beast as it gathers a blinding sphere of pure white energy within its jagged jaws. Sudden shockwaves blast through the cavern and send the boy flying backward like a piece of paper in a violent hurricane. Agony rips through his lungs as he screams at the crazy monster for using such a dirty and unexpected trick in their duel. Sonic waves vibrate through his skull and make him feel like his entire brain is going to explode into a million pieces. That demonic insect stands at the center of the vortex as it prepares to unleash a final strike to end the human intruder. Rage boils inside his chest because the sneaky bastard was actually hiding a lethal secret technique this whole time. Dark blood leaks from his glowing eyes, but the protagonist refuses to back down against the absolute power of this beast. Every single muscle in his body screams in pain as he prepares a desperate gamble to see who will survive this final exchange. Life or death is the only choice left as he stares directly into the void with a gaze that could challenge a god of destruction. Energy erupts from his fingertips and he charges forward with a roar that echoes through every corner of the dark cave. Everything fades into an empty abyss as the boy reaches for a light that seems to be slipping away from his trembling hands. Confusion hits him like a truck while he wonders why his physical frame is suddenly giving up in the middle of a literal war. Both palms tremble as the young warrior wonders if he finally reached his limit before the actual fight was truly over. This pathetic and weak body fails him once again and he collapses into the shadows of his own crushing disappointment. Daoden stands over his broken student and mocks him for being so pathetically weak in a world that only respects results. Daoden stands over his broken student and mocks him for trying to take a nap in the middle of a literal graveyard. Blood drips from his eye yet the boy offers a twisted grin while calling the master a simple old man. Laughter erupts from the veteran as he admits the disrespectful brat actually showed some real spirit during the fight. Massive steel pierces the rank C wolf and queen because this monster was far beyond the rookie's current power level. Silence fills the cavern as Zeon realizes his eardrums are completely shattered from the previous sonic explosion. Sudden shouts erupt as the veteran realizes the kid is now basically deaf to every single command today. Rough hands grab his collar as the master begins dragging the boy deeper into the dark and damp tunnels. Shards of rock litter the floor around a mysterious glowing orb that pulses with a strange and ancient energy. Wide eyes scan the purple light since the protagonist never saw a treasure of this magnitude before today. Confusion takes over as the young warrior points at the object to ask the master for an explanation. Writing on the wall reveals this is a queen egg and the old master jokes about it being strawberry flavored. Panic hits his soul because he cannot believe he has to eat another disgusting monster part to survive. Trembling fingers reach for the orb as he wonders if consuming this energy is even physically possible. Terror returns once he recalls the burning pain from the last time he swallowed a monster organ for power. Dangerous warnings escape the old man's lips, but the deaf student has no idea his life is in serious peril. Xian decides to take the risk and gulps down that mysterious glowing orb without knowing the price of his greed today. Stories of old-world fruit fill his head as he wonders if this legendary snack actually tastes like a sweet strawberry. Pure joy explodes on his face because that monster egg is actually the most delicious thing he ever tasted in this wasteland. Darkness suddenly flashes through his vision as a strange and cold sensation begins to crawl deep inside his stomach now. Sharp thorns rip through his skin from the inside out and the poor boy collapses as blood leaks from his terrified eyes. This brutal process is called organ inversion, where every single intestine begins to twist and shred the host into pieces. Consuming the queen ant egg is actually a death sentence because its extreme toxicity forces the body to turn inside out. Every single internal part gets pierced by jagged thorns until the victim suffers a slow death from a condition called huanjiang. A soul-crushing scream echoes through the cave as the protagonist demands to know why his master fed him such a lethal poison. Daoden just cleans his ear with total boredom and tells the kid to get used to the pain if he wants to survive this world. Puffy cheeks bulge with intense pressure as he wonders how anyone could ever get used to having their gut shredded. Dark liquid erupts from his mouth and the floor shatters under the weight of his absolute and gut-wrenching agony right now. Reality hits like a hammer as he looks at his bloodied palms and realizes his life is slipping away in this dark hole. Tears fall because the young man finally thought he found someone to trust after living such a miserable and lonely life. Bitterness fills his heart as he calls himself a complete idiot for trusting a legendary monster who only wanted him dead. Xian hits the cold cavern floor as his body finally gives up after that brutal and draining battle. Daoden stares at the massive insect corpse with a wicked grin because he knows exactly what to do next. Sudden movement erupts as the old master plunges his bare hand right into the hard shell of the dead creature. Fingers dig deep through the slime and guts to find the ultimate treasure hidden within this monstrous carcass. Victory shines in his hand as he pulls out a rare mana stone that pulses with a dark and ancient energy. This crazy old man laughs because this single core is worth more than everything inside those human minds combined. Every single part of this queen ant is a jackpot, and the legendary hunter prepares to pack his new trophies. Something shifts in the air as the veteran turns his head toward the broken student lying in the dirt behind him. Conversations with his massive blade continue as he asks his steel friend if the boy has any real potential left. Death seems like an easy escape, but the master knows that the weak only have fate to blame for their end. Shadows grow long in the tunnel and the legendary warrior prepares for the next phase of this brutal training. Time is running out for both of them since the world outside is changing faster than any human can imagine. Reality returns slowly as the protagonist wonders if his soul is still attached to his broken and bloodied frame. Laughter echoes through the cave as the master calls the kid a total dumbass for waking up so late today. Absolute chaos erupts as a massive explosion of golden energy shatters the entire cavern into a million pieces. Daoden yells about the dust because this insolent brat is making a massive mess inside the dark cavern. A skeptical look fills his face as the old man wonders if the kid actually thinks a simple sand trick can hurt him. Xian launches 100 sand needles with pure rage, yet his master only calls him a total dumbass for trying. Those attacks mean nothing to the veteran warrior who just wants the boy to stop acting up right now. This legendary master sighs with deep disappointment after seeing such a pathetic and useless assault. Danger swirls around his face, but the master doesn't even blink since his power is on an entirely different level. Massive pillars erupt from the floor as Xian wonders why the man who saved him is suddenly acting like a villain. Everything explodes into pieces when the protagonist screams to know why his own teacher tried to kill him today. Total chaos follows as the ground shatters and the boy yells his frustration into the empty void of the cave. Bright eyes burn with a new hatred as the kid reaches out to vow that he will never forgive this betrayal. Sharp stone spikes drip with ancient energy and wait to impale any fool who loses their focus for a second. Colossal slabs of rock begin to crumble because the sheer pressure of their mana is tearing the room apart. Impact sends our hero flying backward as he struggles to maintain his balance against the overwhelming shockwaves. Heavy gasps for air fill the silence as the boy stands his ground with a soul that is finally waking up. Sarcasm drips from his voice as the teacher asks what the boy is trying to achieve with this stance. Daoden stands tall as he explains that the queen eggs have enough power to fry a human brain instantly. Confusion hits our hero once he realizes he was just standing still without landing a single hit today. That old master sighs deeply because the boy is a total moron who would drop dead from one simple punch. Fear makes him tremble as Zeon wonders if everything he just heard is actually the truth. This lethal venom overturns the gut of a queen, but it also draws out every hidden impurity from his body. Mana floods into the empty space left behind by the filth just as he felt during the heat of battle. Lightning crackles across his skin as the protagonist realizes his magical power has tripled or even quadrupled. Golden eyes fill with a sudden hope as the young man looks up and calls the master his only savior. Tears stream down his face while he begs for forgiveness because he was a fool for doubting the old man. A disgusting feeling hits the master as he barks for the emotional brat to finally let go of his leg. Sharp Eyes watch as the boy admits that his fighting was not good enough for a real warrior of the wasteland. The massive sword hangs on his back as he speaks to the blade like it was an old friend from the past. Sweat drips down as Zeon hopes for some slack since he truly almost met his maker during that nightmare. Only a desperate gambler would take these trash odds, so the rookie must get stronger immediately. Ready to leave, the legendary hunter drags his student toward the next trial of certain death. Zeon wonders why the old man is suddenly grabbing him like a sack of potatoes again. This veteran warrior shows a wicked grin that usually means trouble for everyone involved. Time is running out and Daoden insists they need to move faster before the sun sets on them. Terror fills the boy's face as he realizes his teacher has another crazy idea for their travel. Tiny sand scorpions play in the dunes without knowing the chaos about to descend upon their home. A massive shockwave shatters the desert peace as the master launches himself into the golden sky. Both of them fly through the air with tiny hitchhikers as Zeon screams about this insane speed. Laughter erupts from the elder because his student actually slept for 4 days like a total loser. Daoden mocks his lack of stamina but suddenly stops to stare at something massive on the horizon. Our hero wonders if there is anything left in this wasteland that can actually surprise him anymore. Brown eyes widen in pure disbelief as a colossal shadow begins to block the burning desert sun. Some kind of ancient mountain is moving across the sand as if the earth itself decided to walk. 30 kilometers of distance means nothing because the beast is so massive it fills his entire vision. Archilon is the name of this mobile fortress that roams the desert as a living tank for survivors. People gut these rank B turtles to build cities on their backs since their defense is legendary. Zeon screams in pure disbelief after seeing a creature so massive that it literally defies every single law of nature today. This new perspective makes him realize his own insignificance in a wasteland full of ancient and terrifying nightmares. Legend says some monsters are so powerful that they treat other colossal beasts as nothing more than simple horses. Daoden commands the boy to etch this terrifying image into his memory as proof of what true power looks like in this era. Suddenly the old master leaps into the empty air without a single worry about the lethal drop waiting for him below. Impact shatters the dry ground as a blinding pillar of white light erupts from the spot where the veteran warrior landed. Someone special waits in the dust as Daoden warns the protagonist to stay perfectly still unless he wants to die instantly. Sharp blue eyes watch from behind a silver monocle as a mysterious figure recognizes his old rival from a past life. This dignified elder with a massive white beard stands tall amidst the desert dunes as the atmosphere becomes heavy. Daoden laughs like a madman to mock Pavilsa for losing even more teeth since the last time they fought each other. Pavilsa sighs in deep annoyance because his old friend is still way too energetic for a man who lived over 100 years. These two legends argue about territory as Zeon just stands there wondering if he finally lost his mind today. Insults fly across the sand as the master calls the other elder a coward for running away from mere scavengers in the desert. Confusion consumes the kid since he wonders why these grandpas are so incredibly strong despite their advanced age. Pavilsa lets out a sharp whistle to dismiss the nonsense as the massive stone monster looms over them in the background. They emerge from the shadows of the cave into a massive open area where the sun finally hits the ground. Zeon looks up with a terrified expression as he realizes they just arrived at the most insane place on Earth. A colossal gate carved into the mountain reveals a secret entrance and the master tells him it is time to move. Fear paralyzes the rookie as he huddles into his cloak trying to hide from the massive pressure in the air. Sudden dread washes over his soul when a gargantuan eye opens behind him to watch his every single move. Another old man with sharp glasses stares at the newcomers and asks if this kid is a new subordinate. The veteran lifts the boy like a bag of trash and jokes about doing his part for the environment by picking up junk. This mysterious elder turns away with a sigh because he cannot believe the legendary hunter brought a weakling alone. Total silence follows as the old man with glasses whispers that the world must be coming to an end very soon. Panic explodes from the protagonist as he screams in disbelief at the impossible view waiting before his eyes. A hidden city built into the cliffs reveals a thriving civilization full of people who look surprisingly happy. Both travelers enter the Mort clan territory where the boy wonders if everyone shares the same bloodline. These fools are all descendants of a legend called Pavilsa, yet they are useless without a mysterious power source. That grumpy old man shouts for them to keep their mouths shut before they cause a massive scene in the streets. Daoden barks back, calling them all parasites who will be abandoned by the Archelan as soon as the leader dies. This mysterious old man decides to skip the small talk for now since there are much more important things to discuss today. Heavy boots strike the floor with enough force to echo through the entire grand hall of this hidden fortress. Daoden sits back and relaxes as the elder suggests checking out the loot before they get into any serious business. Shadows swirl around the master's hand as he summons a massive black vortex that seems to defy the laws of physics. Mountains of gold and ancient treasures erupt from the dark portal to fill the room with a blinding shine of pure wealth. Zeon stares at the massive pile of loot and wonders how many monsters had to die just to fill this greedy vortex today. Curiosity takes over as the rookie asks if his master is secretly some kind of high-level magic user with a hidden bag. Pavilsa mocks the boy for being such a clueless idiot who has never even heard of the legendary subspace storage before. Anger flares up again since the kid just wants a simple answer instead of being insulted by two old men at the same time. Those sharp eyes behind the monocle inspect the treasure and admit that every single piece is actually top-quality work. Our legendary warrior demands that the old man cuts the flattery so they can talk about the actual price today. Playful jokes about paying in mana stones almost lead to a fight because the veteran warrior has zero sense of humor. Business becomes serious as the merchant asks exactly what the hunter wants in return for all this dragon gold. Protection is his main goal because he needs a custom breastplate forged from the remains of that terrifying ant queen. Hot steam rises from the cup as the negotiation takes a much deeper turn than the young protagonist ever expected. Pavilsa mentions a rare subspace tool as Zeon stares at the legendary figures with a lot of confusion on his face. That old man picks his ear and asks why a legend like Daoden would ever need a common breastplate or more storage space. Daoden grips the boy's cloak and reveals that the high-quality gear is definitely not meant for his own personal use. Everything becomes clear when the master points at his student and calls him a complete idiot as he enjoys a warm drink. Pavilsa adjusts his monocle as a spark of pure surprise flashes through his ancient eyes for the first time today. Rumors say the great Daoden never cared for anyone, but this young man seems to be quite useful for his future plans. Sudden shouting fills the massive hall as the old man calls out for a mysterious person named Kaylee to show her face. Echoes of rhythmic footsteps travel across the stone floor as a new presence approaches the heavy and ornate metal door. Both travelers turn their attention toward the entrance as the massive portal finally begins to creak open before them. Zeon stands frozen with his mouth wide open because the sight before him is unlike anything he ever imagined in this hole. Powerful legs covered in tactical gear emerge from the shadows as a confident voice asks if she was called for a mission. A stunning woman with goggles appears and the protagonist instantly thinks she is the most beautiful girl in the world. Pavilsa ignores the awkward silence and asks if she still keeps that special subspace bracelet she crafted a long time ago. Kaylee reveals she actually has a superior gauntlet with a perfect enchantment that she kept hidden as a secret treasure. Total outrage explodes from the girl when she hears the order to give her precious masterpiece to a random little brat. Daoden shouts in surprise because that tiny girl actually managed to become a legendary enchanter in this desert. Rare talents like her are hard to find even in Neo Soul, and he laughs about the luck of Pavilsa's bloodline. Pavilsa pushes the girl away and tells her to stop wasting time with old men who have nothing better to do today. Orders are given to start crafting a breastplate immediately before the next disaster strikes this peaceful city. Excited energy fills the boy as the young lady commands him to follow her toward his brand new gauntlet. Two legends remain behind in the quiet room as they watch the younger generation walk toward their own destiny. Ancient streets of the Mort clan stretch out before them as the pair navigates the narrow alleys of the Stone City. Curiosity takes over and she asks what kind of crazy relationship he actually has with that terrifying monster. Zeon scratches his cheek and explains that they met by pure chance and now he just follows wherever he is dragged. Pure terror fills her voice because nobody ever survives being dragged around by a beast of that caliber for very long. Sharp Eyes notice a familiar darkness and a heavy sense of fear hiding deep within the pupils of his new companion today. Visions of Daoden obliterating monsters with his bare hands prove that this girl shares the same trauma as our hero. Warnings about the old man being a predator in human skin echo through the street as Zeon admits he knows the danger well. They arrive at a massive stone entrance and the boy wonders if this is finally the place where his gear is kept. A wicked and proud grin appears on her face as she reveals that this messy room is actually her legendary workshop. Zeon nearly chokes on his own tongue as he steps into the most insane weapon workshop in the history of the world. Pure disbelief washes over his face since he never imagined finding such high-quality treasures in this dusty wasteland. Thousands of legendary items decorate the walls like a dream for any warrior seeking a quick way to rule the planet. Kaylee hugs her precious creation and explains that it features a subspace storage and a divine restoration function. A massive smile breaks across his face once he realizes this gear can actually repair itself after every single battle. Fire energy dwells within the metal and she promises that the right user will become an unimaginable monster of destruction. Guilt hits the rookie for a second as he wonders if taking such a rare masterpiece for free is actually okay. Dangerous rules apply because he can only equip one item into the slot and it stays there until the end of time. Tension builds in the air as they both stand perfectly still during the most awkward gear exchange ever witnessed. Sudden chaos erupts when the girl refuses to let go of her masterpiece as if it were her own flesh and blood. Screams of agony fill the room during a violent game of tug-of-war with the legendary gauntlet. Kaylee pins him to the ground and yells that she refuses to give her precious child to a random nobody today. Victory belongs to our hero as he finally yanks the treasure away with a wicked grin of absolute and pure joy. Massive shockwaves rattle the walls of the workshop because their loud argument just reached a whole new level of crazy. Zeon offers to give it back if she is that upset, but the eccentric girl screams that he misunderstood everything. Sudden terror fills her face as the girl screams about a massive cry coming from the mountain turtle itself. Panic explodes from the boy because he has no idea what kind of monsters are currently hunting them down. Every single vibration in the air tells Kaylee that something terrifying is approaching their hidden sanctuary today. Daoden remains calm on the couch while the old leader stands tall to prepare for the inevitable arrival of their enemies. Cold blue eyes glow behind his monocle as Pavilsa whispers about the annoying pests who refuse to leave his people alone. Scavengers charge through the golden dunes on their massive beasts to bring chaos and destruction to the clan territory.